After 4 years of falling just short of a modified series title, number 26 Chris Gerchman used speed and consistency to win the 2013 series. But with the 2012 series champ Austin Barnes returning to the scene after a season hiatus and a few new young upstarts to the series, the reigning champ won't be without a challenger on the track. After months of preparation during the off-season, we'll see who did their homework. Everyone starts at 0. This is the Lucas Oil Modified Series, presented by Lone Mart.
Really close right there. Nice smooth turn there.
Jesse Hicks still runs second, now trouble
Big
again.
hit back there. Trying to sneak up right here.
Going side by side. Second white car in line.
We are ready to go racing with the Lucas Oil Modified Series, and we're going to kick everything off here at Havasu 95 Speedway. This is the General Tire Arizona 100, presented by E3 Spark Plugs. Ken Stout and Rob Klepper here to call all the action, and Aaron Bates will help us out all season long, so let's get it down to her.
There's been a plethora of racing here at the Havasu 95 Speedway since it opened back in 1989. It's a quarter-mile semi-banked oval track that has 10-degree banking in the turns and 2-degree banking on the straightaways. Now, for the first time in the history of the sport, it ended up being a rain delay in the evening, which means these guys are going to be racing during the day in warmer temperatures. The biggest challenge that they're going to face is that all the rain that came down washed away the rubber off of the track, which means finding the right amount of grip is going to be the ultimate fight here today. Guys, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Aaron, and we have a huge showing here of cars ready to kick off this season. This place here is beautiful. I think the rest of the country is a frozen tundra, but up here it's gorgeous.
100-lap race on tap for today. Of course, getting rained out last night. These guys will run with the sun out. Austin Barnes, the 2012 champ, laying down quick time, and for the first time in series history, a 40-lap B-main event, taking 4 out of that. A very unique B-main here today, Ken.
Yeah, and the way that worked was after 20 laps, they took the top 4 and put them in the back of the A main field, and then they let the next 20 laps determine the winner of the B main. Let's get it down to Aaron.
Jessica Clark was last year's rookie, but she's got a full year of racing and experience under her belt. And Jessica, you are no longer the rookie. What did you take from last year's rookie season that you'll be able to apply to this season?
I definitely got experience racing in this series, and everybody is so competitive. The top 10, every single car has a chance of winning every race every night, so you know, I'm just excited to be racing with such a high caliber of drivers, and I think I'm pretty competitive this season, and I'm ready to win one.
Thanks, Jessica. Good luck to you today. Everybody is on their A game. Season opener. You can expect they'll be able to make a statement here today.
Well, she made a great statement there because the top 16 qualified within 0.3 of a second of each other. Jessica Clark is our featured driver this week. A day in the life presented by General Tire. Once again, let's get it back down to Aaron.
Doug Ham is a veteran driver. However, he's yet to claim that elusive championship, but he is on his way to rectifying that when he had his best series finish last year, finishing up in that 4th place. But Doug, you qualified in that 6th place position. How are you planning on using the inversion to your advantage today?
Well, this is the best seat in the house. I hope I don't lose it. I got Chris Gerchman to the outside of me. This is his home track. He loves that upper groove. I got to get the jump on him and hopefully lead that first lap and keep these fast guys behind me.
Good luck to you today. Starting on the pole position, he finished runner-up here last year, looking to finish on the top spot today.
All right, let's talk about the vehicles that are going to be racing out here today, and we'll get started with our Tech Tip presented by Optima Batteries.
Throughout the season, we talk about the tires with this series. The tires that you race on Saturday night must be purchased the weekend that you race to help keep the cost down so no one really messes with these tires. You have to qualify and race on the same tires all night long each day with this series. Hoosier Racing Tires specifically developed this Hoosier 700 tire for the Lucas Oil Modified Series to be consistent and be a great equalizer among these cars. Remember, they put out a lot of horsepower, so it really puts the driver back behind the wheel to have tires that are a little bit harder that'll last all night long.
All right, let's show you our Lone Mart starting grid. Doug Ham is going to lead him to the stripe alongside the 2013 champ Chris Gershman.
You can see Jason Pattison there, former series champ outside row 2. Austin Barnes, another former series champ back in 2012 outside row 3. I mean, you know, we talk about this series, it just gets more competitive each and every year.
Father of Chris, that is Larry back there on the inside of row number 5 alongside Jim Martis, who really pushed Gershman all season last year and, of course, would love to step up and do one spot better this year. Shelby Strobel back there in the 24 car. It's a stacked field, as you talked about.
A lot of the regulars that we've seen for a handful of years, Aaron McMorrin, Tim Morris there in row 9, Roger Brown, Doug Carpenter there in row number 10. Some new faces, Dylan Capello, Dustin Tilbury, Michael Hale, of course, Rich Lindgren. We've seen him off and on throughout the years, but it's definitely a stacked field, and it's going to be fun to watch him with the sun out here at Havasu 95.
Yeah, 39 cars fighting for these 24 starting spots, and we're a day later than scheduled, courtesy of Mother Nature, but we are racing now. 100-lap main event. When the front row really gets a good start, they go 3 deep back behind them, dipping the tires off down on the inside of that curve.
Yeah, everybody trying to find where their car likes to run, or at least not hit the driver next to him as we go on board with the 2012 series champ, Austin Barnes.
And Austin Barnes doing exactly what people talk about. Looked like he was up on the wheel right there, trying to look over the steering wheel. Keep in mind, these guys sit as low, and girls, of course, sit as low as absolutely possible, and it really does take away from some of the vision, but it's all about a low center of gravity. Let's get it down to Aaron.
Austin Barnes, Chris Gershman, and Jason Pattison all have new cars built by Steve Teets. And talking with Jason Pattison earlier, he said it's going to be interesting to see all 3 cars on the track because there are only slight differences between the 3. Jason opted for a lighter body. He's won here in Havasu 3 times, but not since 2007. The number 80 is looking to change that today.
Nice onboard shot there with Jason Pattison. That 80 car working the low part of the racetrack. Austin Barnes, top shelf there. Bull ring of all bull rings here. Quarter mile, not a lot of banking. You heard earlier from Aaron Bates. So the preferred line is that low line. But if you're Austin Barnes and you need to make some moves, you can maybe get, in a 100-lap race like this, get that outside group to come in.
Guys doing a really good job there, running side by side. And 2 distinctive lines as we're talking about here. It looks like the outside line is hanging on there, but he is way outside. Typically, the outside line is right on the passenger side door handle. Very rarely that big of a gap. Chris Gershman won the championship a year ago. You would think, why change cars? But he did. He has a brand new one.
We haven't had a lot of time to test with this new car. We just pretty much have put down the wrenches right before we came out here, and normally we try to test with every new car at least a week ahead of time so we can fix what we need to, and this time we just didn't have that kind of time. We know there's stuff we still need to do to the car to make it better, and we're going to come back more races to figure it out. So we'll get that car dialed in before the end of the series.
Yeah, it's always difficult. Sometimes it seems like you have months before the first race, but it just goes by so fast. But so far, it looks like they have a good handle on that brand new car as we watch RC Martis and Hicks doing battle here.
Yeah, great onboard shot with Dave RC working his way down into turn number 1, putting that left front right on that yellow line.
Yeah, we can't preach about being smooth enough. That is really where the magic is. And when we say smooth, I mean it's turning, it's center of the corner, it's exit off, it's squeezing on the throttle. There's nothing that is aggressively done here if you want to run a fast lap.
Chris Gershman, who may have to use that chrome horn to get by that 4 car, bumps it just a little bit there. Gonna try and make a move to the inside. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do to make a move.
And that's textbook right there. You just want to run the lap as if you would run it without that guy in front of you. Now, that's a very, very difficult thing to do, but you just want to lean on them a little bit, just make them wiggle about center corner, and then you drive off as you would because they get a little bit loose. They have to check up. Consequently, you can pull up about midway through their car and hopefully have a good run on the inside of the next set of corners. It's a very difficult thing to do, and you have to be very patient when you're doing it.
And you can see as Chris Gershman got by Doug Ham, already pulling away about 2 car lengths over that 4 car. So Ham goes from first back to second, new leader in Chris Gershman. And for more on the 2012 champ, here's Aaron.
2012 champ Austin Barnes is back for a whole season of racing with a brand new car. In fact, he works for Steve Teets Racing and has made a bet with a coworker on who would win this year's championship, himself or Chris Gerchman. He said there's going to be some tight battles, some good competition, but you better believe he wants to win this bet.
Yeah, there'll be more people in that hunt for that championship than just those two as well. Whatever count out Patterson, he definitely shook the rust off a year ago. Martis certainly was a player all season long last year, so there's some guys that can get it done.
And it looks like Austin Barnes may have a little trouble, or else getting a little loose there on the outside part of the racetrack, losing spots left and right, and now very loose as he loops it out over in turn 2.
You know, it looks like the right rear is up. I mean, both side tires there, right side tires are aired up. But it looked like he almost developed a flat there and really loose off that previous set of turns and then all the way around. So not something he would just do.
Yeah, unless he broke something in the steering, which it doesn't look like he did. He's checking out the steering right now, and it looks like he will head to the pits and try and get that fixed.
Left rear looked like it was down, so that was the issue for Austin Barnes. We'll see if they can get that fixed and get back out here without losing a lap. Stay with us. There's your top 5.
The Lucas Oil Modified Series is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. By E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn. And by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
Welcome back. The Lucas Oil Modified Series and the General Tire Arizona 100. Jessica Clark is our featured driver this week. A day in the life presented by General Tire.
I'm Jessica Clark, and I'm a Lucas Oil Modified racer. I have loved my life. I feel like I have the best life ever. I'm so grateful for my parents. They have supported me in anything I do. I've played like 8 sports. I love to surf. It's so much fun. I'm an old school longboarder, so I like to hang 10, nose ride, and walk up and down the board. It's really fun. And that's something I do with my dad. He grew up surfing, and he's the one who taught me how to surf. I love working out. My whole family is super active, and we have a great gym in our garage. I like Cheetos. They're horrible for you, but they're so delicious. Cheeto Puffs, regular Cheetos. I've never had Flaming Hot Cheetos, though. I'm just not really into spicy food. I also love to participate in the deaf community of Santa Barbara. I go to Santa Barbara City College, and I'm the president of the American Sign Language Club there. I feel like many people are not educated on the deaf culture and community in America. I plan on transferring to California State University of Northridge. They have a really good deaf studies program there, and I'm thinking of being a deaf studies major because that way, when I make it to NASCAR, I will be fluent in American Sign Language. I will be able to help raise awareness of the deaf community in America.
Great personality, lovely young lady, and we wish her the best of luck as we go on board with Jessica up in the high line, and unfortunately losing a couple spots there.
Yeah, struggled at this racetrack to kick off the season last year, finished 18th, and then the fall race she did get a 10th place finish. So bringing some of that knowledge back here this year, as you saw an onboard shot there with Jason Patterson in the 80 car. Everyone trying to find their line around the racetrack. A 3-car battle there for the 3rd spot between Patterson, Scott Winters, and the 5 of Chase Catania.
Yeah, Chase Catania raised a few eyebrows a year ago and caused a little bit of havoc from time to time. Winters right there in the back of Patterson. It looked like it was rolling the center of the turn. You can see it right there. It's just rolling the center of the turn a little bit better. It's one thing to catch up with him. It's another thing to pass, as you were talking about before.
Back up front with your leader, Chris Gerchman. And, you know, we talked about running while the sun's out. It is a lot different. The track temp is different. With all the rain, no rubber on the racetrack, so it can throw these guys for a curveball. And this first 25, 30, 40 laps, they're really just trying to figure out what their car likes, where they want to run on the racetrack to be fast, with the exception of Chris Gerchman. His home racetrack, grew up here, and he gets around here in a hurry no matter what.
Yeah, it looks like that new car is paying dividends, and here comes Winters. Winters rolls up underneath. Jason Pattison makes it look easy, and Chase is going to follow him right on through. Unfortunately, that's what happens, man. If you get off the bottom and there's a couple of cars nose to tail, you're probably going to lose 2 or 3 spots.
And you talked about Chase Catania, and there he goes trying to take a look to the inside of Pattison. Made that work. Now back to the inside of Scott Winters for the 3rd spot.
Chase has a great car here, man. He really got off of that turn nicely. Winters way up high. Gets a push inside of the car. I thought Pattison might be able to take advantage of that and drive back underneath him, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, the key with these modified cars that we talk about, all the horsepower that they have, the equalizing tire that these guys use, if you can get your car into the car, and now we got one spun around, looks like the 71 of Dustin Tilbury coming out of the B main, loops it out. Let's take a look at it one more time.
Yeah, one of the newcomers there to the left of your screen. You can see all the tires smoke, and like he was all by himself. You talked about that before he come. Yeah, he was all by himself there. Unfortunately, just a little bit loose. And these cars are a handful, man. They look like they're easy to drive, but to drive one fast out on the edge is a very difficult thing to do. And he did work his way through that B main and made it to the back of this field. So Chris Gershman, once again, will lead the group back around here. There's plenty of horsepower inside of these cars. I mean, they can light those rear tires off at any time. Of course, that's the last thing you want to do.
On board with your leader, Chris Gershman, you can really hear him get out of the throttle to get these things slowed down to get through the corner. 2,500-pound race cars, 58% of that weight on the left side as the battle for second continues. Hicks, Winters, Chase Catania. We talked about Chase Catania, you know, an incident, I believe, in Madera last year there in Central California. And he's not afraid to stick that nose in when you get in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, he'll stick it in there. He'll push you, too, and he'll loosen you up pretty good. So he's also trying to learn his craft. Keep that in mind and try to find those final inches to just loosen somebody up. Jim Martis, unfortunately, a big wreck towards the end of last year when he was in the hunt for that championship. But the players out here in this series helped him out, gave him a car to get inside of, and actually went out and did a great job with the car and continued to earn some points. Just not quite enough to beat Chris Gershman for the championship.
Yeah, it looks
caution
like
flag out.
Caution is back out once again. And it looks like Doug Carpenter, the driver from El Cajon, California, coming to a stop on the racetrack. So that'll give us a second to get it back down to Aaron Bates for more on Austin Barnes, who's in the hot pits.
2012 champ Austin Barnes comes into the hot pit early as well. The team just replaced a left and right rear tire. Second time he's had to come into the hot pit so far this race. Luck is definitely not in his corner early in the season.
Yeah, my guess is what happened there. We saw him spin out a little bit earlier. The left rear was cut and went down. When he spun out, probably flat spotted the right rear, did not realize it, and consequently had to come back in. When you flat spot one of those tires, it will shake the entire car violently.
Back underway with that 26 of Chris Gershman out in front. Matthew Hicks still runs second. Now trouble
big
again.
Hit back there. Man, right up into the wall, too. Collects 3, 4, 5 cars. Roger Brown in there. We also have, of course, the 5 cars in there. That is RC. And it looked like Doug Ham might have gotten into the back of RC right there.
Yeah, I don't know if RC got a little loose before the 4-car got into him or the 4-car just helped him move around. But you see J.A. Jr. there taking off as Roger Brown, Brian Collins, RC Ham, and Gaylord all involved. So you could see Trip Gaylord climbing out of his race car.
Yeah, and that was a hard hit into the wall up there. So that one definitely has some damage. Isn't going to come back here tonight. These restarts, I mean, everybody knows the tail. It just takes one small mistake, or maybe somebody gets hooked up or somebody spins the tires in front of them. They get into each other. It causes a domino effect, and unfortunately, it looks like 3 or 4 cars here hurt. There's a look at your Lucas Oil Modified Series Top 5. Welcome back to the General Tire Arizona 100. When we left you, there was a huge wreck, and unfortunately, Trip Gaylord was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Aaron's with him.
Season opener did not go as expected for Trip Gaylord. It seems as though your day has ended early. What exactly took place out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of racing, trying to get down to that low line. That's the fast way around here. I thought I'd try that high line for the one restart, and it didn't work out for us. So we'll be back with these Garcia Racing, Bilstein Shocks, 57 in Tucson, and try to get them there.
Some tough luck, but glad to see you're safe.
And once again, we get back to the action out here on the track. As you can see, Gershman just immediately starts driving away from this field.
Great speed shot on the front straightaway to show these drivers hauling the mail as they do here at Havasu 95 Speedway. And Chris Gershman right now in command. Great battle. Second on back, there's Chase Catania right now running in third as you go on board with Jason Pattison.
Pattison still in that outside lane. The car wiggling around just a little bit, but really doing a solid job so far of maintaining a position out there. If you can get that top to come in, like you were talking about before, Rob, you know, it is a little bit easier on the tires. You can kind of carry some momentum and glide through there, but just most of the time with this series, there's just not quite enough grip up there.
Yeah, and you can really see right there, Pattison had to drive it in deep to try and make that outside groove work. And the problem with the outside groove, if you're the only guy up there trying to make it work, it's just not going to happen for the entire race. You need the long green flag runs and a handful of cars to try and get up there and lay down some rubber.
He drops back in behind Winters, and here comes the 51A. Austin Barnes now picking his way back up to the front. They played the caution flags perfectly, so he is on the lead lap.
Yeah, run a limited series last year with the SRL Southwest Series, so great to have him back with the Lucas Oil Modified Series this year, chasing points and one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, so he's the guy up top trying to make that outside groove work. And we're hearing now that Trip Gaylord may be making his way back out onto the racetrack. Let's get it back down to Aaron.
An interesting development taking place here in the hot pits. We're witnessing the number 57 crew working hard on Trip Gaylord's car. Initially, he said that he was out of the race, but that might not be the case. The team is working hard to get him back together to put him back on the racetrack.
Yeah, if at all possible, and you're chasing points, man, you want to try to get back out there and see if you can pick up a couple here, a couple there. A lot of times when you win a championship, it's about making the best of the bad days. Right now, Chris Gershman's having a great day. Yeah, nobody out there, anything for him.
Yeah, he ran first and second at the two races at Havasu last year, so it's no surprise that he's out front and checking out from the rest of the field. As you saw Matthew Hicks, who won at Vegas last year, right in front of Scott Winters, who is running fourth as we go on board with that 24A.
Yeah, Winters with a good hot rod out here today. He's been really solid, has also worked the outside line just a little bit. He's in the 24 car there, the red 24. Just behind Hicks as we go on board with Hicks.
Yeah, Hicks only ran one of the races last year here at Havasu, finished fourth in the fall race. As we go back up front, here comes Chase Catania. We talked about Austin Barnes being one of the fastest cars on the track, and it looks like that 5 car, he's got a pretty good hot rod here.
He has closed the gap on Gershman. Nobody's been able to do that so far. And it might be one of those deals where Chase's car is good on these long runs.
Yeah, and Chris Gershman, you also don't know if he's just kind of taking his time and his crew telling him you got a pretty good lead, no need to push it. Well, now they're telling him the opposite. He does need to push it. Now he's got that 5 car right behind him.
Well, I will tell you, when your car's as fast as Gershman's is, it's still really, really hard to pass him. Even if his car's a tick slower than Chase's, it's going to be very difficult for Chase to pass him without turning.
Yeah, I think that's the key right there. We saw Gershman use the front bumper to get by Ham to take the lead, and we've seen Chase Catania use the front bumper in the past. So, I mean, you don't want to wipe a driver out, but if you have to use it, like you said, to just get him pushed up the racetrack a little bit, that's what you have to do to make a move, especially here at this tight bull ring.
Hicks, Winters, and Jason Pattison. 1, 2, 3 there. All 3 cars fighting for position, of course. And it looks like Winters might have just a little bit better car than Hicks right now. But again, just so difficult to pass.
Yeah, you can see him take a look to the inside, entering the corner. His car's rolling the low part of the racetrack pretty good.
Close. Oh! Really, really close right there. And Hicks isn't going to give it up. He didn't let him through there. And, you know, the downside to that for Hicks is he could have been turned. I mean, he had that car all the way underneath the left rear.
Yeah, when you get these things just a little bit loose, it's very hard to keep the rear wheels underneath you. As we go back up front, on board with Gershman, that is Chase Catania running second, the white car. About a car length behind him is the battle for the lead. Heats up.
That was Trip Gaylord, by the way, in the 57 car, who is back out on the track. Obviously, they were able to drive down underneath him, but he's out there picking up some points. So hats off to that team for working so hard to get that car back out here. Winters, Hicks, and Pattison. Winners now around Hicks. He worked hard, man. That was not an easy pass, but finally got it done, and now creating a little bit of a gap between the two as the caution flag comes out yet once again. Looks like Doug Carpenter facing the wrong direction again.
Yeah, so caution will come out one more time for Carpenter, the driver out of El Cajon, California. Ran 20th and 13th last year here in the two events at Havasu 95 Speedway. Ended up 11th in series points, so he should be able to get turned around, tag the tail of the field. And
speaking of the tail of the field, they were all busy back there trying to catch up and then slamming on the brakes to stay out of each other. You saw him turn around as well. I don't know if you had a chance to catch it on your TV screens at home, but there's a lot of rubber. We call it marbles. We refer to it as marbles in the industry. That's up at the top of these turns, and it's rubber that's come off the tires. When you turn around like that and you get them all over your tires, it can literally take 2 laps or so to get all of that stuff off of your tires. I mean, it is so bad, it'll vibrate the car, makes it all but impossible to turn the car.
Jason Patterson now going up, running that outside groove. He's got Austin Barnes behind him as it looks like another car stopped on the racetrack. Arizona driver Dylan Capello brings out another caution.
There's a look at your top 5. Chase Catania bringing some heat to Chris Gershman now. Who's going to win it? Stay with us. It's a 100-lap main event here. The General Tire Arizona 100 at Havasu 95 Speedway. You're watching the Lucas Oil Modified Series. Chris Gershman, the green and white, number 26, has been out front for a long time. Chase Catania closed the gap. And then the caution flag came out.
And how about Austin Barnes using that high line, now battling with Catania for the second spot. Barnes trying to get back to his winning ways that took him to the championship in 2012, and Catania trying to win his first Lucas Oil Modified feature event.
And Barnes doing a really nice job again up there on the top. Runs it high, carries that momentum, is able to hang on to that spot. Actually, I think cross the stripe there just a little bit ahead of Chase Catania.
Yeah,
so really bringing the outside in. Look at this.
Yeah, don't count out Scott Winters. I mean, his car has been turning really well this entire race. And he is right behind these guys going side by side.
Oh! He hit the wall. He couldn't go any further up. Hits the wall. Chase Catania gets into the side of him. And Chase is going to lose yet another spot. Here comes Winters up underneath him. Let's get it over to Aaron.
The number 11 of Dylan Capello comes into the hot pits at lap 54. He said that he was hearing a bunch of sputtering during the restarts. The team quickly checked it over. It was a distributor cap that was the problem. They replaced it. He's fired back up and out back on the racetrack.
Tough break for sure, and there's somebody way sideways right there. One of them spun out up at the top of the turn. People are trying to dodge him. That's going to be Jessica Clark, unfortunately.
Young lady in the 44. Here's another look at it. 3 wide. Jason Patterson going a little low, and I think just ran out of real estate there.
She was way off the pace for whatever reason, and those guys are trying to pass her on either side, and unfortunately, that just did not work.
So it does look like Jessica Clark gets turned around, checking out the front end to make sure the steering's okay, and she will restart this race. Meanwhile, Chris Gershman is probably tired of seeing the caution lights come on as we're back underway. He's out front. Catania and Winters trying to run him down with Austin Barnes in that 51A running third.
Chase trying to work that high line. I don't know that it's working out quite as good as Austin Barnes was making it work. Always tough in the back, too, on those restarts. You charge in there, and everybody's checked up in front of you. You try not to cause a wreck. That's why they say cautions breed cautions. Those restarts can be pretty sketchy.
Austin Barnes got underneath the 24 of Winters and the 5 of Catania to take over second.
On board watching Jim, of course, inside the office. Once again, we go back out here. Winters has had a great car out here, trying to pick up another spot, really doing a good job. He can close that gap up there with Austin. Chase back there behind him. Chase losing a couple spots here on the outside.
Yeah, we saw Jim Martis there, the onboard shot, as he trying to work that outside part of the racetrack, moved back down to the low line. On board there was Scott Winters running in that third spot, that red 24 car behind him, the 5 of Catania. Then that second white car in line.
Chase using that front bumper, man. Boy, he had him completely sideways. Winters did not give it up, though.
And back on it again. You got to worry about getting hooked up, too. I mean, you can see those are just chromoly tubing front bumpers, and you can get hooked up with the car you're trying to move out of the way very easily. Take yourself out.
Nice smooth turn there. No counter steer inside of it. Yeah, Chase is doing everything he can. I mean, it's the game. That's the game you got to play right there.
Well, and Winters is a veteran. He's a former NASCAR California State champion. He won the modified championship up at Stockton 99. You're not going to rattle his cage too easily.
Yeah, if anything, you wind him up a little bit and you purposely block as much as absolutely possible as we go back and take a look at the 24-car of Shelby Strobel and Larry Gershman. That is father of our leader, Chris Gershman. Yes. Strobel a little sideways.
Yeah, Strobel had a great season in 2013. Finished up third in the points, driver out of Meridian, Ohio. And, of course, Larry Gershman. We don't see him that much with the series, but usually when we come to their home racetrack, the Gershmans, father and son, will race.
Yeah, Strobel racing with us for about 8 years now. Great to have him out here. Car settling down now. He's put a little bit of gap between he and Larry Gershman. Good view there across the hood. Off the roof of these cars. They're pretty low cars, low center of gravity.
Yeah, Strobel struggled a little bit here at this race last year, ran 19th. He was 7th in the fall race. As we go back up to that battle for third, Chase Catania has now gotten around the 24 of Scott Winters.
I'm sure Winters would love to return the favor, but probably not going to happen. I mean, it's just the way it goes. It can be frustrating, but you have to be patient. You have to shake it off and just run your race as best you can.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't have the car to keep up with that 5 of Catania. As you can see deeper in the field, still going side-by-side for position. Doug Ham, who started up front early and led, has fallen back to 8th, and looks like he may be hung out to dry right now on that outside part of the racetrack as they battle for 7th.
Ham in that 4 Hicks, that black and green car up there on the high side. Probably going to lose a spot up there.
Yeah, he's trying to make it work, and there's some rubber up there for sure. I mean, we saw Austin Barnes up there, Jason Pattison. Those guys laying down some rubber. I mean, this is a long race. We're coming to about 25 laps to go. And if it goes green to the end of the race, I think Gershman got the fence.
He did. Definitely brushed the wall right there, and it doesn't take much to upset these cars, especially the setup on them. If he hit it with a Nerf bar, he might be okay, but if he clipped it with the right rear, could have caused some damage. And once again, Doug Carpenter, unfortunately, facing the wrong direction. It's the 3rd time.
And the series does have a 3-spin rule, so we'll see if it's enforced here for Doug Carpenter, and he possibly got a little help.
The Lucas Oil Modified Series is brought to you by Bilstein Shocks, the world leader in monotube shock absorber technology. By Loan Mart. Call 1-800-LOAN-MART and they will get you the cash you need today. And by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source.
This is the General Tire Arizona 100 presented by E3 Spark Plugs. We're at Havasu 95 Speedway. Chris Gershman has been out front but has had some pressure from Austin Barnes and Chase Catania.
Now you have to throw in the 24 of Scott Winters there, as he's been pretty fast, as we see the 51 of Jim Martis work on that outside part of the racetrack. He's running 3rd. He's got Jason Pattison behind him. And one thing about these restarts, if you're running the high part of the racetrack or you want to run that outside line, with these restarts, you're putting half the field in that groove. So a couple laps, you're going to lay down a little bit of rubber. But if you want to make a move here, this is the time to do it. We're coming to under 25 to go here now, and if you want to get to the front, you need to make a move.
On board with Martis, looking through his window there, his driver's window, is a 24 of Winters. We've seen this happen a couple times now as we watch Scott Winters here. where Gershman has a great restart. His car is really good on the restarts and hangs on for a number of laps, but as the run gets into a long session, that's when they're able to close the gap back up on him. Sometimes it's just air pressure. Maybe he came in with a little more air pressure than some of the other guys, so the car's really good after the tire cools off. But as they go a long distance, they close the gap on him.
Saw Jim Martis there for a moment, picked up a win here at Havasu 95 in the fall race here in 2013. So everybody slicing and dicing, getting loose off turn 4 as Austin Barnes with Chase Catania right behind him. Two young guns this year in the series. Great to have Barnes back, chasing points.
Well, just a nice squeeze on the throttle there off of the corner. Barnes and Catania. That's a great battle there. I mean, talk about exciting. Those guys could put on a show by themselves. They're trying to chase down Gershman.
Doug Ham there in the 4-car getting a little loose there. Thought he might get into the back of the 28 of Matthew Hicks there.
I'll tell you, if this thing goes green, those top 3 could put on quite a show. We could have a battle here at the very end. Boy, that was a beautiful move out of Ham. I mean, now you're driving on a car where the tires are just tired. I mean, through no fault of the tire, the game obviously is to drive on the absolute edge of adhesion. So that's what they do. They push these things, and we're at the end of this 100-lapper, and there's just very little adhesion left inside of them. So they're trying to drive these things straight when there's just very little grip.
Got one stopped over there, again over there in between turns 3 and 4. Caution comes out. It's Rich Lindgren in the 27 car out of Rio Linda, California. Picked up a win in 2011 at Madera Speedway.
Great looking ride as well. You could also see all those little chunks of rubber up there at the top of that turn once again that I was speaking of before. Oh, nice restart by Winters. It looked like Gershman might have spun the tires just a little bit on that restart.
He's got to be getting tired of running these restarts knowing that these guys are behind him. And you mentioned it before. He kind of pulls away about 5 or 8 laps. Those guys running second, third on back, they kind of reel him back in. And you're only going to be able to do that for so long here with about 15 laps to go. Austin Barnes now has pulled away from Chase Catania, now setting his sights on Gershman.
Now, typically you would say that the leader does not want to see a caution flag, but his restarts have been so solid, I'm not sure he wouldn't like to see maybe one more.
Well, and the flip side of that argument is it keeps him out of the lap traffic. And you know, when you're leading, you catch those slower cars, it could be a really tough deal to keep the guys that are racing you for the win behind you, as it looks like the caution lights are on once again. And it is the 71 of Dustin Tilbury coming to a stop.
Safety crew there immediately and gives them the thumbs up. A-okay. All right, there's a look at your top 5. We'll be right back with the closing laps. Stay with us. And we're back here. Just a few laps to go on the General Tire Arizona 100, a 100-lap main event here presented by E3 Spark Plugs. Well, I said he might want another restart. He's going to get one. We'll see if Gershman can make it work one more time.
Scott Winters, Chase Catania, Jason Pattison, Jim Martis, all up there with good race cars that can mount a charge on the 26 of Gershman. Doug Ham as well, working his way back up to the front. Let's get it back down to Aaron Bates.
Thanks, you guys. I'm up here in the spotters tower overhearing the race officials talk to the spotters, and it's possible that there could be an issue. Due to all the restarts, the carnage, and the chaos that's been taking place out on the track, there might not be enough fuel to make it those final 15 laps. Fingers are crossed. We'll just have to wait and see what pans out.
Thanks a lot, Aaron, and certainly a great point there with the caution flags that we have run out here. These guys have run a bunch of laps. They don't want to carry any more fuel than absolutely necessary. Of course, they probably load them up here on a race like this, though, 100-lapper.
Yeah, their fuel cell holds about 32 gallons maximum. You figure 7 pounds a gallon, over 200 pounds in the rear of that race car. It can change the chassis quite a bit over the course of a 100-lap race. As we go back to that battle for the 4th spot, I mean, there's Winters, there's Martis, and how about the guy that started up front, Doug Ham?
How about Martis? I mean, really picking his way back up to the front again. It took him a long time to get here, but he has worked his way up there into the top 5.
Yeah, it's staying pretty smooth as well. Even right there, as you saw him push up the racetrack, when you run that outside groove, you have to drive it in a little bit deeper than the driver running the low part. use that brake to get the car turned, and sometimes it'll just push up the racetrack a bit.
He's doing a great job right there. I mean, he's really found a rhythm, drives it in nice, squeezes off right here, comes right back up beside him. Martis can get it done. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's a seasoned veteran out here.
Yeah, Doug Ham there sneaking in, waiting for Winters to make a move, and he can dive bomb him down to the inside there, and Ham in that green number 4 car as the caution comes out yet again. And it's for the 5 of Dave Arcee. Looks like a multi-car accident as Rich Lindgren involved, left rear down on the 27, and Eric McMorrin also stopped on the racetrack.
The Lucas Oil Modified Series is brought to you by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world. By Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. And by General Tire, anywhere is possible.
And the single file restart indicates we are under 10 laps to go here at the General Tire Arizona 100, presented by E3 Spark Plugs. And once again, Chris Gershman gets off to a great start.
Austin Barnes behind him in that red 51A. Chase Catania, Jim Martis, Scott Winters, Doug Ham back up in there trying to finish in the top 5. It's going to come down to the final couple laps. A lot of fast cars behind your leader, but he's been pretty good this entire race as well.
Yeah, with less than 10 to go, I mean, his car's been really strong. And that gap that he has right there, it doesn't look huge, but when you only pick away at it 1/10 of a second at a time, it is significant. Chris has had a great run out here today.
Would really like to kick off 2014 just like he did last year en route to his first Lucas Oil Modified Championship by winning the opener. Only a handful of laps left to go, and he's going to do it.
He knows his place well, of course. Travels in, flies into all these events now, as his hometown is in Texas.
You can see Austin Barnes doing all he can coming off the corner, trying to get back to that throttle early, getting a little loose to try and run down Chris Gershman. Drives it in deep.
Martis and Winters doing battle. Winters again with a good car, trying to sneak up right here. Can he grab one more spot? Oh, so close. He's way up beside him. He's got to push him out. He muscles his way in, and he's going to steal the spot from Martis.
Just a masterful pass by Scott Winters. His car has been turning so good on that low part of the racetrack. Found the spot to do it and made it work, and now works his way into the top 5.
Great job for Winters. I mean, he has really gone back and forth a couple of times, but you're right. I mean, that car is really solid on entry and mid-corner.
Now trying to run down Chase Catania in that white 5 car. Oh, now trouble. Looks like Doug Ham loops it out through the dirt. Scenic route, no caution.
Slings a bunch of dirt out onto the track, and white flag is flying. 1 to go for our leader. You can see the dust kicking up behind his car. No doubt hanging on to it. It'll be a quick lap. Chris Gershman, one more set of turns, and comes around to pick up the first win of the season, followed by Austin Barnes and Chase Catania.
Great finish for Austin Barnes, coming home 2nd. Chase Catania, Scott Winters finishing 4th. Jim Martis 5th. Hicks, Strobel, Gershman, Jason Pattison in the top 10, and Tim Morris didn't say anything about the 11 car. He ended up 10th.
A look at the rest of the field there for our main event, and standing down the old smoky moonshine winner's circle is Aaron Bates.
Defending champ Chris Gershman starting the season off on the right foot. Congratulations to you, Chris. Not much testing time in this car, but now you've got some valuable time behind the wheel. What are you able to take away from this and go home and work on?
I got to take away that you can't do it without your crew. I got to thank my whole crew. They worked so hard this weekend, stayed up all night, and we got this thing going good, so I'm proud of them.
Congratulations, an outstanding performance, picking up right where you left off with the target on your back.
All right, this is our Bill Stein shock of the race.
And that goes to the 51A of Austin Barnes. Looped it out on the racetrack, went to the hot pits, came back out on the racetrack, went back to the hot pits a second time, and raced his way back up through the field to finish 2nd. Challenged for the win, but came up a little bit short. Good run for Barnes. He's with Aaron.
A great job by Austin Barnes. Congratulations, taking home the 2nd place finish, but you've suffered a few setbacks having to come into the hot pit several times. You had to drive the wheels off this thing. How deep did you have to dig to pull it off?
You know, I got to first of all thank Jason Patterson. He doesn't even know yet, but these are actually his rear tires. So I mean, you know, these were great. Wasn't exactly what we needed, but you know, they let us really get back to the field. We got a bunch of good restarts, and we put on a great show. Just thought I'd thank everybody, and glad we had such a good race.
Austin, congratulations on putting such a dogfight all the way down to the checkered flag.
And as you would imagine, as we take a look at the point standings after our first event, as they finished, is how they stand.
Gershman, Barnes, Catania, Winners, and Martyrs. That is your top 5 as they head down to Arizona, Southern Arizona, Tucson for race number 2.
Hope you enjoyed all the great racing action. The season has begun. For Aaron Bates, Rob Klepper, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil Modified Series.